Good morning. I'm Anne, with Maternity Wise Doula Training, and I wanted to talk to you today about how doulas are oftentimes empaths. So let's talk about what empaths are. I'm going to share my screen. There is a book called The Empath Survival Guide. It's by Judith Orloff, and she has a list of 10 traits. Let's just go through those, and each one I'm going to break down in how a doula actually oftentimes embodies these traits as well. So empaths are highly sensitive. As a doula, a lot of times we find ourselves able to feel what our client is feeling while she's in labor or even postpartum. We absorb other people's emotions for good or bad. This is something that we oftentimes find ourselves doing. We need to be careful about that, obviously, but we also are able to kind of take on people's emotions. And when you're a doula, that can be helpful to your client, but it can also be harmful to you as a doula. So you have to be careful with that. Many empaths are introverted. What that means is when you are in social situations, it can drain you, and you need to restore your energy by being alone. Introverted doesn't necessarily mean shy. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that when you are alone, you recharge, and when you're with others, you give away your energy. Empaths are highly intuitive. This is super, super good for a doula because oftentimes moms who are in labor are not very communicative. They're not really able to be, and they shouldn't have to be, because they need to be focused, they need to be grounded, and we want them to stay in their little bubble of relaxation, right? So if we can be very intuitive, then she can stay in that bubble and we can intuit, we can anticipate what her needs are without having to ask her or expect her to complete full sentences, because sometimes she can't. Empaths need alone time. So we need to know that and understand that about ourselves so that we can fully recharge and we can really take good care of ourselves. Many doulas are moms. We don't get a lot of alone time. So this is also something that it's important for us to understand about ourselves so that we can definitely take good care of ourselves so that we can be giving our best to our families, to our friends, to our clients. Empaths can become overwhelmed in intimate relationships. Because we give so much of ourselves to other people, and because we can absorb other people's energy and other people's feelings in relationships, it's very easy for empaths to lose themselves within intimate relationships. So that is, again, for good or bad, it's one of our traits. Empaths are targets for energy vampires. So if you've ever heard of narcissists, those are definitely energy vampires, people who are toxic. Empaths are huge targets for those people because empaths do absorb other people's energy, but they also spend their energy. Energy vampires are going to suck the energy right out of an empath. So again, for good or worse, it's one of the things that makes us great, but it's also one of the things that makes us vulnerable. So we have to be aware of it so that we can be wise and make sure we're protecting and taking care of ourselves. And limiting, having boundaries and limiting the amount of time or maybe even making sure that we're not having any time around people who are energy vampires. Empaths become replenished in nature. This is why a lot of empaths that are doulas are very drawn to things like plants and crystals and essential oils, because basically those things replenish our energy. We love sound frequencies, we love water, we love all the natural elements that the world around us provides. And we get exhausted really quickly when we're in false or synthetic environments. A walk through the woods or laying on the beach or putting our feet in the ocean can do wonders for our energy. And so in a birthing situation, you may find that you feel just as rejuvenated as your client when you're using things like crystals and herbs and by herbs, I mean, like maybe lavender in a pillow or essential oils, that sort of thing. Empaths have highly tuned senses. We are usually very highly sensitive people. Sounds, bright lights, wind. We're very sensitive to different things. Cold, hot. I always say that my temperature is very finicky. Like I get overheated very easily and I get chilled very easily. Like I have this very small comfort zone for my temperature. And trust me, it annoys me just as much as it annoys everyone around me. But the fact is we are very highly sensitive individuals, and it's one of our superpowers, but also can make it can be part of our vulnerabilities. So, and then lastly, empaths have huge hearts. But again, sometimes we give too much. So that can be also one of our weaknesses. It's our greatest strength. It's also one of our greatest weaknesses. I want to read this bottom part. I love this little piece here, and it says, she also says that being an empath doesn't just mean having a lot of compassion. In many ways, empaths don't have the normal filters that other people do. They take in a lot of what's going on around them and are very sensitive to noise, smell, and excessive talking. This means that they are easily overwhelmed in crowds and can be exhausted after just short periods of time in social situations. This is important to know. As a doula, if you are an empath, this is important to know about yourself. But it's also important to know about your clients. If you have clients that are empaths, it's really important to understand how to protect her energy and to protect her bubble. In a situation where you have a mom who is maybe being hyper stimulated by bright lights, many people in the room, lots of noise from machines, a lot of times we have, the many belts and different things that are happening and IVs and different blood pressure cuffs. She has all these things touching her, and the room might be cold, or she might start to get over warm when she's contracting very frequently in the end, or even pushing, she's getting overheated. It's really important that we are very in tune with our clients and that we're very conscious of highly sensitive individuals in labor, and that we're kind of trying to stay one step ahead of all her needs, so that if the birthing person that we are with is a highly sensitive individual, they can very quickly become distressed by their environment, and so to try to understand that those five senses can be overwhelmed really quickly, we can keep things to a minimum, right? We can kind of try to preemptively protect her bubble and protect her peace in that way. But also knowing ourselves and knowing what stresses us helps us to keep our vibe in a calm place as well, so that we don't bring an excessively anxious energy to the birthing space either. Okay. That was my little bit on empaths and doulas. And if you feel that you are an empath and you've been called to doula work, doesn't surprise me, but I'd love to hear about it. So drop a little comment below and say, hey, it's me. I'm an empath and I'm a doula. Love to hear about it. See you later. Bye.